What's going on, everybody? We're going to do a recruiting update with Greg Biggins, national recruiting analyst for 24/7 Sports. We got some high-profile guys on the West Coast, very interesting guys, and also takeaways about Mario Cristobal. What's going on, Greg?
You know, I just apologize for the back. I'm looking at my background. This is ugly. I need a little Miami Hurricane football background to kind of get me more in the mood. But so apologize to all the Cane fans who have seen this ugly garage. It's only a quiet place in the house. But I'm good. Chris, thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, you talk about background. I'm right outside the field. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, really, you're right there. Wow, that's good. No wind at all today.
Yeah, I was at the basketball court the other day doing an interview. I had to watch my head not get hit with the basketball. Nice. Hey, Mario Cristobal on the West Coast. Just your overall impressions of that, because it's been an area Miami has gotten over the years at times, but certainly it's a priority for Cristobal. Just why does it work for him on the West Coast, and certainly a lot of talent out there?
Yeah, no, he is a relentless recruiter. You know, from a head coaching standpoint, I mean, I think not many. I mean, you'll hear Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Pete Carroll back in the day, as in terms of head coaches that were involved hands-on. Mario is just like those guys, if not more so. I mean, he is talked to a lot of kids and ask who their lead recruiter is. They'll mention Mario Cristobal a lot. And so it's not just him, and he makes his staff, he grinds that staff. And at Oregon, you know, they were constantly having to replace coach. And we always joked it was probably because, you know, they didn't want to have to recruit 24/7. That's what's required to coach with Mario. Complete grinder. I think he loves the chase. He does a great job connecting with the kids, with the parents, with the high school coach, whoever the person is. Mario does a great job. But I think the biggest thing about him is just the work ethic. And he does a great job just getting involved, you know, with kids early. You know, that early eval. We used to see Oregon, again, bringing up Oregon because that's my, you know, closest reference right now. You know, they'd offer kids as freshmen, sophomores, and people would be like, oh man, Oregon's offering everybody. But you know what? It's so funny. All those guys that they offered early on end up being players. So I think he's got a good eye for talent. And then, like, again, just a maniacal approach to getting after kids and staying on them and recruiting them harder than anyone else. Not just, again, the whole staff. Ask a kid, hey, who's talking to you? Everyone. They'll name 8 coaches on the Miami Hurricane staff right now. So great approach, and he works hard at it.
Let's get into these 3 high-profile guys. Miami's got a chance at them. They're in the mix. We'll see what happens. But 5-star offensive lineman, Francis Mauigoa, top 10 guy. Jayden Wayne out of Washington recently announced he's going to play in Florida for his high school season at IMG. You know, again, top 10 of position, top 30 overall. And then a defensive end, a really intriguing guy at 6'7", you know, Collins Acheampong. Let's start with Francis, going back to him. What's he bringing to the table? What makes him so impressive as a top 10 guy in the rankings?
Yeah, no. So July 4th announcement. I tell you what, I can't really find a flaw in him. You know, the first thing you notice is just his size. And again, he was a Southern California guy. As a freshman, he played both sides. He was an elite, played for one of the top teams in California. And Aquinas High School in San Bernardino, played D tackle and left tackle, and played both at a high level. Defense was actually his passion. But we kind of kept saying, dude, you're 6'6", and the way you can move, man, you're a first-round draft pick at left tackle. And I think he finally, as a junior at IMG, decided, hey, I want to go full bore at offensive line. He's huge, but everybody else is. But I think for me, what stands out is not just the size, it's the movement, the fluidity, and how he moves, the athleticism, the raw strength and the power that he has, the nastiness that he plays with, versatility. You know, he could easily slide inside and play guard if you wanted him to, but he does have those tackle feet. Again, he's you know, I think that playing that, you know, that defensive line, that's helped him in terms of just, you know, being an athlete, right? Just being able to, you know, have some lateral movement to you, use his hands extremely well. And again, he's tough physically. So I could go on and on and on. I probably already have about Francis. I think he's special. And if he stays healthy, you know, he's one of those guys that it's just so hard to envision him not being a high first, second, third round pick. I think he's got, you know, first round upside for sure.
And he's taken 5 official visits, Miami being one of those. Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, USC were his other visits. You know, certainly great programs all around with who he's competing with. Miami is competing with. Who do you think, or which team's kind of the one, if it's not Miami, or which one is kind of the toughest battles, or is it really all 5 of these guys?
Yeah, no. So I think right now it's a little fluid, but the buzz, and we're talking on a Friday, July 1st, is probably Miami, Tennessee, or the 2 schools you hear a lot about. You know, Alabama was an early leader, and there's definitely still in it. And I think USC is still in. I think maybe Florida's dropped a little bit. But the buzz, the most at least that I've heard right now, is probably Miami and Tennessee. Obviously, you never can rule out Alabama. And I think, I don't think he's made a final decision yet. He's announcing Monday, and I think the plan is to wait till maybe Sunday night to really iron this out and get a final decision. So still some stuff to do, but Miami at worst is in their top 2, top 3 for him. He loves them, likes them a lot, likes the staff, likes the coaches, likes the location. So Miami's got right now has as good a shot as anyone, if not a better shot than anyone.
You talk about his announcement time, where people can see that.
So it'll be CBS HQ, which is cool. He's actually in Hawaii right now. So it's going to be 9 o'clock Hawaii time, which is 3 o'clock Eastern time, where you guys are at. So yeah, 9 a.m. Hawaii, 3 o'clock. I'm drawing 12 o'clock my time in California. So I'm excited. Honestly, this is one of those where I don't know. And I'm a recruiting fan myself, so I'm curious what he's going to do. So yeah, CBS HQ is the place for that announcement on July 4th, 3 p.m. Miami Hurricane time.
There you go, Jayden Wayne. He's a guy I got to see last year. Take a trip to Miami. So I've seen him in person, certainly impressive physically. What stands out to you, and also maybe your reaction to him making this move to IMG?
Yeah, no, I guess it's been real. Obviously, one of my coworkers, Brendan Huffman, knows him really well. And he said not a surprise at all. He thought he was going to make that move to IMG. I think it's good. I think people go to IMG usually for one reason. It's development. They have high level, strength program, conditioning program, nutrition program. You're getting really, really good coaching. You're playing a high level schedule. So I think for Jayden, I think what stands out about him as a player is probably his positional versatility. We saw him a lot playing 7-on-7 over the last couple of years, and tight end is where he's played a lot. Obviously, 7-on-7. You don't see too many pass rushers coming off the edge and 7-on-7, but I think that's where his upside is the highest. I think that's where he's going to be playing in college, as an edge rusher. Again, you love the length. You love the frame. It's a prototypical frame. He's going to be able to have no issues adding on as much weight as the school of his choice requires. But again, I think that multi-sport, multi-positional background allows him to be a big jumbo athlete. And that's why we advocate for kids playing multi-sports and playing both sides of the ball. So he's a long, athletic kid with a lot of upside.
Again, with these high-profile guys, high-profile schools are involved. What can you say about his recruitment and kind of where Miami stands with him, you think?
Yeah, I think right now you just have to look at the, no pun intended, the crystal ball, I think is leaning toward Miami. I haven't heard, you might know more than I do, of when an actual announcement is going to take place. Maybe he didn't have one yet, but I think a lot of the buzz is it's going to probably happen in the next month. And I do think obviously that the Kings are the team to beat at this time.
Certainly one of those guys that when you come across the country, you got a shot. You got to feel like you got a shot for Miami. And certainly when you see a guy like that, kind of make the trip and kind of essentially make Miami a priority to him, you always have a chance. And that's what we're kind of seeing with these Miami recruits, why Miami is kind of getting some guys other parts of the country. If they can just get them on campus, because that's usually been the struggle the past years.
I've been on campus before. Again, back in my, student sports Nike camp days, we do a Nike camp at Miami every year is always our first stop. And shoot, man, that's, if you're a high school kid and you're coming out and you're seeing the campus and South Beach and all that, there was, the tradition, the history, everyone's seen the U, the 30 for 30, so much to sell. Obviously, I think it's a sneaky, really strong academic school. So you can sell that to those academic minded kids. A lot to sell. And I'm one of those guys, man. I like it when the superpowers, are good. I want to see Texas. I want to see Notre Dame, USC, Miami. I like it when those schools are good and rally. College football is better when those schools are good. So I would love to see Miami get back to the days, when I was growing up, it was always Miami, Florida State. Those were some of the best games, I'd set our calendars to back then. So I think it'd be fun to see Miami, one of the top programs. And it looks like with Mario, I think they're going to recruit for sure that way. I definitely think they have a great chance to get back to that, top 10, top 5 status sooner than later.
Yeah, and we talk about recruiting. It's crazy how many top 10 classes Miami's not really had since the last, the 24/7 sports era, so to speak. I think they've only had 2.
That's crazy.
And it is nuts. And you'd think with a program like that. So hopefully, recruiting, it gets going for Mario, and it certainly has already. It certainly looks like it. With Collins, he just has an interesting story, athletically and everything he's bringing to the table. Miami's had success with another guy around this height, and Greg Rousseau just recently. What do you just kind of lay out for people that don't know about Collins' story? Can you explain it, kind of his journey?
It's a radical story. So he's from Ghana, came over to Southern California as a freshman to play basketball. That was his first love. That was his sport. And I never saw him, but I was told he's actually a legit basketball player, potential top 100 recruit, a really small school out here in Southern California, Fairmont Prep. And it's more of an academy for basketball, but he decided to go out for football. And his freshman tape was really, really good. COVID hit. And so they shut the football program down at that point. So sophomore year, no football, junior year, no football. So I hadn't played football since his freshman year. But UCLA offered him, which is ironic because UCLA is usually the last school to offer players. Just they're a little slower with that, but they love the athleticism. And then pretty soon, man, like everyone offered him. And he went to some camps and people had a chance to go watch him, work out. And now he's a legitimate 40 offer guy from just about every powerhouse school you can think of. And people will say, how do you offer a kid who hasn't played football since his freshman year? Well, again, he's 6'6". He's probably 220. A few months ago, he told me he's now 250 because he's doing some crazy workouts with some NFL caliber strength coaches. And again, football recruiting and like rankings is all about projection and upside. So I think people see this raw kid who, again, was a top 100 basketball recruit, get him on the edge playing as a rusher. I think he could also be an elite level tight end, but upside is just off the charts, man. This guy, you can mold him and do whatever you want with him. You can't find guys with that kind of size, that kind of strength, that kind of natural athleticism. So, took a bunch of unofficial and a couple official trips. It's like a Canadian right now, official trips. Miami was his last one. Michigan was where we had the crystal ball. UCLA was probably the early leader. He loved his LSU visit. Washington was in there for a bit. Texas was in there for a bit, but we put out an edit, a couple of days ago with the Final Four of Miami, LSU, not Tennessee, it was UCLA, Michigan, Miami, LSU. And he was supposed to announce today, but he just said he didn't know. He wanted to push it back a little bit. And so I think it's going to probably be end of next week, maybe July 5th, 6th, no date set. But, again, Michigan was an early leader, but if he had to have decided today, and again, we're talking about a Friday, I think it might have been Miami, but I still think he's wrestling with some issues. He loves Michigan. He loved, what they did with the two big time defensive ends last year. So Michigan is still in there and LSU is kind of hanging around. I think UCLA has probably slipped a little bit to fourth, but, again, kind of a gun to my head. I think it's probably more of a Miami Michigan battle, and he'll probably take the weekend to kind of iron this thing out.
It was great stuff, Greg. I appreciate you taking the time. High profile guys. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot of fun on a Miami standpoint when you're talking about high profile guys, especially guys that have a lot of great other options. So appreciate you taking the time to do this. Hopefully you take care, man.
Always good talking to you.